Welcome to the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investing Show, where I interview the nation's top real estate entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and other amazing entrepreneurs to help educate and inspire you to take your business and your life to the next level. My goal is to add tremendous value to you during every single episode of this show. If you get value, I'd love it if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe on YouTube, and my very favorite, please share this with your community so we can impact even more entrepreneurs. Let's start today's show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today I'm here with Steve Cohen of InvestorBootz, and he helps real estate investors with services that we'll talk about a little bit throughout the show here. But we really want to talk about today is just how to make your life easier as a real estate investor. You know this already if you're listening to this right now, is you thought you were going to flip houses, but it's death by 1,000 cuts, right? There's a million things you have to do administratively. There's a bunch of stuff you have to do for the government. You got the tax side. You got all these little administrative burdens that just come with being an entrepreneur if you weren't used to that it feels like you end up spending about half your time doing stuff that's really not adding value to the business and certainly isn't the life that you started the business for in the first place. So today we're going to talk about how to outsource some of the things that you're doing in your business to build a better life, to allow you to live the life that you started this business for in the first place. So Steve, great to see you, buddy.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. We're talking about how life gets in the way. Right before we started the podcast today, Steve was at his office and he's like, the fire alarm's going off and I'm going to have to run home and do this from home. So that's the life of an entrepreneur, right? Is there wasn't a real fire, right? It was just a fire alarm. But we're proverbially putting out fires like all day long, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you might hear a little echo in the background, and that's why.
Yeah. So no problem. So yeah, we want to talk today about, I think when you started as a real estate investor, you realized that there's all these little things that it seems like I have to generate a lead. I'm going to get a house under contract. I'm going to talk to, help the seller out of their situation. I'm going to find somebody to buy it. But academically, that's how it works. But there's like a million things in the middle, from dealing with lock boxes to notaries to every little thing. And maybe just tell us a little bit about your story about kind of how, a lot of entrepreneurs find their way into their business from a need that they had in their business. And that's your story too, right?
Yeah. I was so excited about becoming a wholesaler. I absolutely love the business model. And I started with my friend, my high school best friend, and we were getting started, and we were just perfectionists. So we were picking our team. We had picked acquisitions people we know, dispo people we knew. We had a transaction coordinator, awesome bookkeeper, CPA, attorney. I mean, we had built out this list. We bought our leads. And when it was time to go in and get boots on the ground and go out and get photos of these properties or set up a lockbox and do all of these essential tasks that we needed done, it was like, no matter how good the team was we picked, we were having to rely on people that we were literally on Craigslist. We were going on Facebook and we were trying to find people. So yeah, it was a big realization for us that it was like, holy smokes. It goes back to the old cliche, you're only as good as your weakest link. And it really made us sit down and rethink everything and how we were going to be able to get reliable sources to help us nationwide. We wanted to be nationwide. So we had reached out to one vendor we found. And long story short, it turned out he was going out of business. He had about 3 or 4 states cornered where he was offering, photo services and lockbox setup. We ended up calling him back a couple weeks, and he sold his list of vendors to us. And here we are, that we've grown that list to over 300,000 now. And that's how we got started in this space and actually transitioned from wholesaling to providing nationwide boots on the ground.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there's so many things, from like taking before pictures, taking after pictures, getting stuff notarized, like running a document somewhere, recording a document with the county. Like there's so many things. So picking up lock boxes, putting on lock boxes, picking up your sign, all that stuff. As you know, that's your business model.
Definitely.
But
even if the seller lives an hour away from the property and they have the key, being able to send somebody an hour away to drive the key down and put it in a lockbox comes in so handy. So you're not having to worry about all those little, like you said, all these moving parts that are involved in these transactions.
Yeah. One of the things that I think simplifies things for real estate investors is outsourcing those things, but it has to start with documenting a very clear process of what happens, because what has to happen from end to end to get a deal done, right? And then even documenting, well, if we need this, like this is who to call, or this is who can help with that, or whatever. And I think for a lot of real estate investors, especially some of the small people doing, 2 or 3 deals a month or less, they tend to not have a big team, so a lot of it's just in the owner's head, right, as to what to do. And so, I think part of it is just having a very clear, like SOP, standard operating procedure, for what exactly has to happen, so that you can, as a real estate investor, you can outsource that to even a virtual assistant or an admin in your office that knows exactly, like, hey, we need this document signed, or we need to do this with the key, or here's how we get the key from the seller to the house if you sign a contract online or whatever. And so would you say that a lot of the customers that you work with have clear processes, and so they know exactly when to come to you, or is that something that they kind of struggle with?
There's a good mix. I'd say once you start working with us and you understand how much time you can get freed up, then you really understand where we can fit into your current SOPs. Yeah. It's the guys that are just getting started a lot we find that are still struggling and spending a lot of time, again, going on Google, Craigslist, Thumbtack, into Facebook message boards. We are bringing on clients that are calling up real estate agents, asking for favors, and then splitting some of the assignment fees.
Right.
So we have a really good mix, but, again, we try to come in and, there's so many ways to really just free up your time. If you can free up an hour extra time a day from this administrative work and just be on the phone, or even spending time with your family, I just think it's so worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. God forbid enjoying your life more, which is why we all started this, right? But yeah, we tend to either be cheap or just scrappy, or like, I'll figure it out. And as you know, especially for people that operate in multiple markets, like, they have to go find all those relationships on their own. And sometimes you're relying on one person, and then all of a sudden they're sick, or they fell off the face of the earth, or something happened. And so, I think I was talking to a friend today that has been in the business for a really long time, and we were just talking about this kind of general business maturity. After you've been in the business for I've been in the business for 16 years now, right? You start to realize, I'm willing to pay more for convenience. At some point you have this break. You're like, okay, this isn't the cheapest way to do it, but I know that it's going to make my life easier. And there was a time in my life where any sort of service I would go out, I'm like, sort by from cheapest to most expensive. And I'll be honest now, and I'm not saying that your service, I know your service isn't the most expensive, by the way, but I'm just talking about the convenience of everything. Almost everything I buy now, or I look at a service online, I literally sort it from most expensive to least expensive, because I know it's just going to save me my time of not having to fiddle around with a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, or that I'm going to be chasing my tail to try to get them to do what they said they would do.
Yeah. Cut a check for speed. I remember when somebody told me that early on in my entrepreneurial journey. But look, one thing that came out of the pandemic was DoorDash, the Instacart, all of these services that you could just order on your phone, and you didn't realize that at the time. You almost didn't have a choice, but you're freeing up your time. You're paying a little bit of a premium, but that time you're getting to spend back with your family while you're not grocery shopping, or that time you're getting to spend calling more leads while you're not, asking people who's got boots on the ground in Ventura, California. There's something to really be said about that, because, again, as we all know, the most important thing we have at the end of the day is our time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if you look back at most people look back at their career, and if they have regrets, it's they wish they had found a way to make their life simpler. Like they wish they hadn't spent a bunch of time doing stuff that ultimately had to get done, but wasn't worth them spending all their time to figure it out.
Yeah, I struggle with that myself right now. I have a 4-year-old at home, and even daily I'm like, man, how can I get an extra hour of time every day? How can I buy that more time somehow? So yeah.
What's that worth you? Yeah. And then there's always, there's obviously a ton of people ask in free Facebook groups too. Like, hey, does anybody know somebody that can do this? Right. And what I've seen, there's obviously, I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups. I try to not spend a lot of time in them because it's like the blind leading the blind usually, especially the big free ones, But it's I've seen people give advice to people that I like. Sometimes I know that person. I'm like, that person has no idea what they're talking about, and somebody else is taking their word for it. And so, on some level, you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then even worse is like if you're trying to find somebody that's reliable, like you don't want to be the guinea pig with your own money. So you should work with somebody that knows, that's worked with somebody over and over and over again, right? I mean, I'm sure that through InvestorBootz, part of the service is to vet out people that are good, and you're going to try to send as much business to those people because they're reliable, right? And the ones that sucked, like you're like, take them off the list. Like we don't want to work with these
Definitely.
people, right?
Everybody's bonded. They're insured. They undergo yearly background checks. So it's kind of like if you go and you find online and you find a taxi driver, what are you going to get versus going on an app like Uber and finding a driver that's going to get rated. He cares about his rating. That's the similar business model that we have. Our field agents get rated after each assignment. They know that a bad rating is going to affect getting any future orders from us, stuff like that. So there's definitely something to be said about having trustworthy, reliable system in place in all areas of your business.
Yep. So for your service, would you say that do you work with a mix of people that are obviously over the past handful of years, there's been an uprising of the national real estate investor that might be buying a house for the first time in Des Moines, Iowa, or some market that they will probably never do another deal in. They don't know any contractors there. They don't have a notary there. They don't know maybe even what title company to use. Like versus the people that are like where I'm at in Dallas. That hey, I do all my deals in Dallas, and so talk about kind of how you help those two different investor types.
Yeah, so we have a really diverse mix. We have the guys that love to just be in their backyard, their city, their county, their state. And we have the guys that want to just sky's the limit. Let's go nationwide and see where we can go with that. So we definitely have a really diverse mix of just people all over the board. Some love to just stick to what they know, and then when some realize that they've just had tunnel vision this whole time, and it can be nationwide because there's a resource for them to just click a few buttons and get boots on the ground.
Yep.
So yeah, we definitely have a diverse mix of clients all over the board in those two areas. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think your probably biggest solution really is speed, right? Is like people need to get, there's like 3 or 4 things I need to get done for this house. It could be a notary, it could be lock boxes, a locksmith, it could be any of those things, right? Is just as an investor, you can go fart around with trying to figure all those things out and spend an afternoon doing it, or then remember 2 days later that you forgot something, or you build a relationship with somebody like you that's like, we can help with all those things. And by the way, do you need this or that too? Because it sounds like you might need those things, right?
Yeah, definitely. And what's great is since I still am very involved, I love talking to the new clients. It's almost like I have to talk to everybody that's new because I kind of still want to hear what's going on and what people are doing. And I'm amazed that I still hear that people are spending 40 minutes, an hour and a half trying to, locate, vet, hire, schedule people all over the country. And definitely something we bring to the table is speed. Or again, we want to help free up time, and time is so important. So speed is, I always say, time kills all deals.
Yeah.
And speed gives you such a competitive advantage in the industry. If you're in Phoenix, Arizona, calling a seller in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who's going to win the deal? You in Phoenix or the guy that's able to get boots on the ground same day in Tulsa, Oklahoma? It's always the guy that's going to be able to have a representative show up to the property within hours.
Yep. Yeah, I think one of the great things about your service is like there's always the investor like me that does most of my deals in Dallas. I've done hundreds of deals here. That's mostly where I operate. But there's always somebody that like lives in Dallas that contacted me for a house they grew up in, which is somewhere else in the country, right? And historically, I'm like, we can't help you there, or maybe I know somebody there and I'll send them over there. But with being able to have boots on the ground to go take pictures, to look at things, the investor mindset and what they're looking for, to be able to help with orchestrating that from afar is like, you don't have to throw away those leads now. These leads are so valuable. It's like, you know what? I'm going to, with the dispo tools that are out there, like InvestorBase and some of the tools like that, it's like, I can have boots on the ground and I can find a way to dispo that easier than ever before with just an uprising of the tools. So I think it's a great
we're getting ready to we're getting ready to integrate with InvestorBase actually.
Nice.
On the dispo side, because they just found so much value in again their clientele being able to get nationwide boots on the ground to get professional photos, and they wanted to really roll out the red carpet for their clients. They wanted their clients to be able to get great photos, not just seller photos. They wanted their clients to be able to get 2D floor plans, walkthrough videos, and essentially just hand off to their buyers as many assets as possible so they can make fast and confident decisions without having to step foot into the property.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, those guys are good friends of mine.
Yeah.
I would say, the tools, it's amazing. When I first started in 2008, there was not a single CRM in the real estate investing industry. I mean, we were using some other contact manager and kind of bastardizing it for our industry, or Excel, or like all sorts of stuff, right? And there were very few. There were no services like yours. It was all like you just have to go hustle and find ways to kind of make things work. And so it's been amazing kind of watching the evolution of this industry over the past 15 or 16 years for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine running it off of an Excel spreadsheet, but man, kudos to you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Steve, maybe can you just share like the top services that real estate investors use you for? I'm guessing it's to be able to go and be eyes on the ground and go look at houses, and maybe you could kind of share what the top services are that you help investors with.
Yeah, I always, when people talk about the top services, I always use the analogy like if you're an investor in this space right now, you're typically operating your business with a manual crank screwdriver, just manually cranking away. And then InvestorBootz comes into town, and we're able to show up with the ultimate platinum deluxe power drill. And we have every drill bit imaginable. We probably have some drill bits you never thought about using before. So we're able to go out and provide photo service, lockbox service. We're able to do showings, courier service. We can get documents recorded, room measurements. Those are all of the in-house services we provide. We also have a network of pro service providers. So we're able to handle locksmith orders, maid service, clean out service, lawn service, junk removal, licensed home inspections. It's really a comprehensive suite of services all under one roof.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't think about those that have short-term rentals. Like I'm sure you work with a bunch of those folks that need repairs or need to do things for their short-term rentals. Yeah.
Our clients are anywhere from wholesalers, property managers, fix and flippers, sub-2 community people. We do tenant turns, move-out inspections. You're able to get as creative as possible with our services. To this morning, we went to Big Bear, California. I'm looking at my dashboard, and one of our clients shipped photos, batteries, and a blanket to a field agent, and they replaced the batteries in the door lock, set up the photos in the home, and put the blankets on the couch. It was an Airbnb. So it's like you can get as creative as you want, and as long as we're not breaking the law, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, guys, if you're spending a lot of your time doing a bunch of baloney that doesn't really add revenue but has to get done. I mean, that's part of the administrative burden of being a small business. Stuff has to get done, but it doesn't have to be you. You should definitely check out InvestorBootz. So we're going to have in the show notes here, guys, links for you to go learn more about them. But Steve, anything else you would recommend for people that are looking to maybe get started working with you?
Look, we'd love to just help free up your time and just show you guys, a nationwide resource for these essential services that you guys need. And again, it just all comes back to freeing up your time and helping you guys break into new markets that you never thought were possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it opens up opportunities. You got to look at it. It's not an expense. I mean, your time. If you're not valuing your time, these things like this seem expensive, but if you're not valuing your time, that's the most valuable asset you have, and you need to rethink things for sure. So, Steve, thanks for joining us today, buddy.
Mike, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great to see you. And everybody, we appreciate you. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit InvestorFuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.